I am Daniel Dazi. Glad you could join us. Now, businessman Alfred Agbeshi says government will be in breach of the constitution if it does not adhere to the decision by the African Court on Human and People's Rights today. Now, the regional court is expected to deliver its verdict in a case filed by Mr. Woyome alleging abuse of his rights in the 51.2 million cedi judgment debt. Deputy AG Godfred Yeboah-Dame, however, says government will not be bound by the court's decision because Ghana is yet to incorporate the charter setting up the court into its domestic laws. Mr. Woyome is also disputing, a 20 million cedi valuation of his properties set for auction to defray the 51.2 million cedi judgment debt fraudulently paid to him. The properties are located at Trasacco Valley Estates and Accra New Town in the Greater Accra region. Speaking on Joy News' current affairs show Upfront, Mr. Woyome said the properties have been undervalued. Here's an excerpt of that interview with Raymond Aqua.
Because I'm law-abiding, I went ahead to pay portions of the amount.
Because it was a settlement agreement?
Yes, with the government.
But if you were right, why did you proceed with this?
Because by our constitution,
yes,
one cannot disobey the Supreme Court.
The directive have been given?
Yes. So I obeyed the Supreme Court. And to a point, what I had is what I gave out. And made an arrangement to continue paying.
Which you defaulted on the insistence?
Excuse me. The point is that if you, then I invoked Article 40 and went to the Arusha court. It means everything has to stop. For that reason, the payment was paused. So in that direction, we are all waiting for Arusha. But the government refused and started dawn raids in my houses. And my own house, who say that they are coming to measure the dimensions of the house. They broke into Trasacco, did the same thing there. Another place. They went there and did all that they can do without a court order. That they were taking valuations. I can hear them talking about some values.
20 million is currently.
Which is, where did they get that figure from?
Of course, but if they are broken into your house to do valuations,
what valuation? They come and measure the land and everything. Valuation is different. There must be an independent valuer. You are the judgment creditor. Did the court appoint an independent valuer?
Did the court appoint one?
No. I don't know of one. I don't know of one. So if now they want to talk about a value, they must go back to the court.
Okay.
For the court to appoint an independent valuer, and we all will have to agree on the value before they start throwing out figures. A country you sign to treaty by Vienna, you sign a treaty and you are bound by it, and your constitution also directs that you are bound by it, and you say you will not do it, and you Ghanaians, you will sit down. It's an overthrow of the constitution.
Speaking earlier on Joy FM Super Morning Show, Deputy Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame dismissed Mr. Woyome's claims that his property was not properly valued.
He's always been making these outrageous claims, and I wonder why he does so. He knew that it was court bailiffs who were the registrar of the Supreme Court in exercise of his powers after there had been an attachment. There was filing of what we call a 5A. He filed a 5A indicating that his properties that were placed under attachment. And then the court appointed bailiffs and officers proceeded in the company of policemen and security officers. And that is what happens in every single case. We do not go into onto a person's property trying to value it without protection. Definitely the bailiffs and officers are called that to have protection, and they have protection from police, and that is lawful. And after that, they were properly valued, and we're proceeding to the next step of applying for the properties to be sold pursuant to the determination of reserve price when these outrageous claims were made by UT Bank and all. So he made such contentions before the Supreme Court, and they were dismissed. So he has no case at all.
So how do you intend to recover the remaining sum?
Yes, so what we intend to do is what I intimated yesterday, rules of court enjoined us to file or require application for the determination of reserve price. We're not going to circumvent any rule in order.
Now, President of the African Regional Court wants Ghana and the businessman to obey his decision, which is expected to deliver today. Justice Sylvian Oriol spoke to Joy News' Joseph Akable in Ethiopia earlier this year.
Generally, what I can say is that it's an international court, and that the states have ratified the protocol, so they are abide by the decision that this court render when it comes to cases before it. So we cannot oppose the national court or the decision of a national court, because the decision of the African court when it comes to decisions regarding human rights violations is the decisions superior to all the decision made by the court, because we express on violation on human rights, not on other matters. I expect all the countries, all the state parties before the court to respect the decision of the court.
Away from that story, the minority in Parliament is demanding answers from EC boss Jean Mensa over what they say have been challenges with the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu wants her summoned so she can also brief MPs on plans for the district-level elections and referendum later this year. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us on the phone with details. Joe, what were the details of Mr. Idrisu's demand?
He makes the point that there have been challenges in his constituency, as has been reported to him, about the registration exercise, that has been the case in other areas. And he makes the point that earlier this morning at the leadership meeting of the business committee, he drew the attention of both the majority leader and the speaker to the fact that Parliament needs to demand answers from the EC boss on the upcoming referendum, on the challenges with the limited registration exercise, and also the district-level elections. And there was a rebuttal from the majority leader when he raised the issue on the floor again, and eventually the speaker intervened. The direction was that if they would want to get questions responded to, there are procedures that they can use in terms of the minority by filing a question, and the appropriate officer will be hauled as is required by the procedures of the House, instead of just making the request directly on the floor and hoping that it will be granted.
Well, Mr. Idris will be making that request formally. Has he said that?
He has indicated that they would continue the engagement at the level of the business committee, because the difference is that the EC boss is not exactly a minister who would usually be summoned through ordinary questions. And so any such meeting would have to be a meeting of a committee on the whole. So that would probably require a special kind of procedure in order to get a hold. So he says he will be continuing his discussions with the majority leader so they come to a consensus on that.
But it's this same majority leader who rebutted his request?
Precisely, and indicated that they had discussed it at the level of the business committee, and more like a definite conclusion had actually not been reached on what the way forward would be. So the indication is that those discussions are what would continue, even as the Speaker indicated, although he also made it very clear that the Parliament of the Republic has responsibility over every single sector of the country. And so getting the EC boss to the House to respond to questions is something that is not out of place.
Thanks very much, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo. Let's now hear Haruna Idrisu, the minority leader.
I may have to make an application for you for a directive, and a directive that at a business committee a fortnight ago and on the floor, I made a request that the chairperson of the Electoral Commission will necessarily have to brief this House as representatives of the people on some matters bordering on governance in the country, particularly the challenges with the ongoing voter registration exercise, In my constituency, there are shortages of forms and there is confusion between online and offline. The President has indicated through you and to the Council of State matters bordering on a referendum on Article 55 and other articles and the conduct of district assembly elections. Mr. Speaker, as representative of the people, the right to vote cannot be a right in denial. And therefore, if you can direct that the chairperson appears before this House, I've made a request to the committee, the chairman is here, we need the Electoral Commission, and this is not the first time. We are major stakeholders, that she must come and share with us roadmap, how she intends to work the governance initiatives of the President. I so apply, Mr. Speaker.
Away from Parliament, an open drain running through Washington, a suburb in Medina here in Accra, is eroding homes and wreaking havoc as the rains continue to fall. Some residents living in homes there were forced to flee during a recent downpour where parts of the building caved in. Komladom visited the area and reports several homes and structures continue to hang dangerously along the drain as residents blame authorities for abandoning a planned construction more than a year ago.
But for the alertness of a few neighbors, a child would have been swept away by raging floodwaters running through an open drain at Washington in the La Nkwantanai municipality. The child reportedly tumbled off a makeshift footbridge over the drain that day. Even that bridge is almost falling apart.
We are told by community folk was constructed by them to allow children cross over from one side to the other. But as you can see, some of the wooden bars are hanging dangerously. Some are essentially falling apart. Look at this. And from what the residents tell us, it is such a chore crossing over from one side to the other, especially with the children. It is extremely difficult for them because they may easily fall over.
These residents say they are fed up and are demanding a permanent fix.
The
child fell into the drain on his way to school. Luckily, we were around to rescue him.
We built this bridge with our little contributions, but it's deteriorated now. We need help.
Because area hanum say yedoso school nkola ina ye fa so by say nso no to nso no hayen e bubu dan bebre school nkola fa ejuma for fa.
Children especially are at risk when using this bridge. Many people use this bridge.
And NGO obi obetumi aboa yen yesu kakra kakra we so betumi dey den aka ho na etumi aye footbridge.
But even more worrying is this. Some houses hanging thinly on the edges of an over 6 feet wide open drain with the foundation virtually eating away.
This is actually the base of a building which is hanging dangerously, as you can see, as a result of the flood waters. We understand this drain that was here was a very small drain, many meters away from where I stand, but officials had been dredging and creating this gallows to ensure that a bigger drain is constructed, and as a result left the place open, and whenever it rains, flood waters smash into the earth, wash away portions of the earth, and this is what it has left in its wake. Residents tell me that at the last rainfall, occupants of this building had to be evacuated because of a danger it posed.
Residents say a promise to have the drain, which was then less than 2 feet wide, properly constructed, has not been fulfilled nearly 2 years since excavators were brought in to widen the channels.
205. It
used to be a small gutter, but they told us they were opening it up to properly construct it. But to date, we see no works. Our homes get flooded anytime it rains.
Many other areas in this community have poor drainage systems, and portions of the road networks have been eroded. While occupants of a building which caved in have fled, other residents staying behind say they would not look on for erosion to eventually threaten their lives. They are demanding immediate construction of a drain.
The floods smashed my wall. The drains were not properly done.
If we see no action, we will demonstrate.
Komla Adum, Joy News, Washington.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Medina, Boniface Abubakar Siddiq, says the project has stalled because of unavailability of funds. He told my colleague Joseph Opoku Gakpo in Parliament only 500,000 cedis out of the 1 million per constituency allocation has been made available for the project. On the claims that the project has been abandoned, Boniface Siddiq said he is committed to fixing the problem for residents in the area.
I saw that the whole area, they never had drains. You see how it is. And I had the opportunity with Minister of Special Development Initiative. Spoke to them. MP was entitled to some funds. And so I got 400,000 to fix part of the drains. Recently, part of it, there was a heavy rainfall which affected the house. I had to go there. If the community will bear the truth with me, I was there. And as I speak to you now, the contractor has not been paid, but he's finished the job. And the money is not something to fix.
The job? The claim is that it's
amount of money is not abundant, because even when I brought in the contractor to do the job, there were people who came around to say that it was the landlords there who had contributed to do the job. I went there to tell them that I am there to fix, make sure that I listen to their concern, and brought in the contractor. The money available was limited. Every MP was convinced that at the end of the day you will get the 1 million, but it was not forthcoming.
So that's probably part of the problem. That
so they should
1 million
understand.
hasn't come in.
No MP or district has gotten, or constituency has gotten the 1 million. But the point was that it was available 500,000 for every constituency, and I used 400,000 in part of the 500 for Washington alone. So they should be very grateful that I have decided to use that 500,000, 400 out of it for that place. And I'm still struggling to make sure that I continue the project. You don't say the contractor has abandoned the place.
So what next? When will the whole project eventually be complete?
As soon as funds become available. The major drain has been awarded. The Zongo drain has been awarded to a contractor. Medina, Washington is just what I'll say artillery drains. These are not major drains, but it affects me because when it rains, it washes a lot of sand away and it affects the road. I'm very committed as soon as it is fixed, because I want the whole place to be reshaped so that the residents there will also have a feel of being in the city.
Still live on Joy News today. Now, participants at the ongoing first town hall meeting in the Volta region held by the Information Ministry saying governments should complete the project started by the Mahama administration. They have also bemoaned the poor state of roads in the region, saying that government must see to them immediately.
There is a serious drought of infrastructure, development in the region. There is scarcity of new projects that has resulted into infrastructure famine in the region. So if today the government has realized that and they are using some of the President Mahama-led NDC infrastructure projects to feed the hunger or the development hunger of our people, so be it. But this is just temporary because there hasn't been any new development, new infrastructure development since the MPP took over, the health affairs for the almost 3 years that they've been in power. You go to our district, there is nothing happening. You go to the marketplaces, there is nothing happening. So let them show us what they have done over the years since they took over.
Give me water, the road. When we are coming to that, you can't come in because of the road. The Fulanis, we want them to zone them, but they are not willing to go to the zones. Nana is a peaceful man, so we should try and grab us to zone the Fulanis.
Okay.
So let's stay with the story for just a moment more. Ivy Setoji has joined us on the line. Ivy, who are the government's dignitaries there to address the concerns we've just heard?
Well, we have the Minister for Information, his deputy, that is Pius Taj there. We also have the deputy ministers for gender and health. We have deputy minister for health as well as all the DCs in the Volta region, and also some dignitaries from the opposition party. We also have the Awomasia of Anglo Kingdom, Toby III, the third present.
Ivy, has the town hall itself begun?
Yes, it started about 2 hours ago with the information minister giving his speech. He said that government has done a lot for the country, especially the Volta region, more than any other government who have done. And also, right now, as we speak, the DCEs are giving their presentation, doing their PowerPoint presentation, highlighting on what they have done so far in their various districts. It started from the North Danye district of the Volta region. The chairman for the occasion, that's the Awomasia for our own land, Third Street, the third, also said the government is doing well and asked the residents to give them a chance to continue what they have started. But some residents are also of the view, especially the opposition party, that some of the projects highlighted by the MPP government are from the previous government, that's the NDC. So they want the government to give credit to the NDC government for starting those projects that they have completed.
Thank you very much, Ivy Setoji, for that update. Expect more. Now, recent impact of climate change on cocoa production has been attributed to poor farm practices by some farmers. The sustainable sourcing arm of Hershey International Cocoa is therefore urging farmers to consider alternative sources of livelihood while adopting favorable practices for sustained cultivation. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports.
About 70% of world cocoa beans come from Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. Climate change is predicted to cause both long dry spells and erratic weather events for the yields of the tree crop. Sustainable sourcing representative of Hershey International Cocoa, Albert Monte, says cocoa farmers should begin to look for alternative means of livelihood.
We are giving farmers seed trees to plant on their farms so that they can protect their cocoa trees and also protect the land on which they plant the cocoa. We are giving seedlings to the farmers to plant, and these are seedlings that we have nursed. We are taking pods from Ghana Cocoa Board, and we know that these are strong seedlings that when farmers plant on their farms, it will help them. We are also encouraging farmers to adopt additional livelihoods apart from the cocoa they plant. So we are training farmers on how to grow vegetables, how to plant orange flesh potato, how to produce small animals like grass cutter and the rest, and mushroom and the rest. We think that if farmers have additional livelihoods, it will support them. They will be able to live very good lives and they won't depend on others.
Acting Managing Director of Quality Control of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Nanaka Kariado, also pleads with farmers to abide by the board standards.
We don't want the quality of cocoa beans to fall down, no matter what. So what we do is that we educate the farmers to have good agricultural practices and ferment the cocoa very well for 6 days. After the second day, you go and open the fermentary and then mix the beans and then cover with more leaves. The 4th day, you do the same thing. And the 6th day, you bring the fermented cocoa to the dryer mat. And in drying too, we make sure they pick any foreign matter in the beans. They polish the beans very well, and then so that it to be well dried to have long shelf life in storage. For us, as quality assurance, we want to encourage Ghanaian cocoa farmers to ferment the cocoa very well for us to maintain the premium for cocoa that we have earned over the years.
Meanwhile, cocoa buying companies have been urged to consider improving on the living conditions of cocoa farmers to encourage them to do more. Muzamil Mahamadou is the country director for Agrocom Ghana.
We can bridge the gap using our own efforts, and we need to focus on these efforts. And all that is required to make this gap from 3 or 4 bags to 20 bags, we have it amongst ourselves. We have all the tools. The government is aiding us with pollination. The government is aiding us with fertilizers. The government is aiding us now, as the Director of Research is mentioning, farm implements like slashers, weeders, pruners, which are going. These are tools that are going to improve the farm. They are even talking about providing some aboboyas and so on to move the goods so there's no spoilage and so on and so forth.
In related developments, the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana (CAG) is asking government and Cocoa Board to urgently set up an agriculture disaster management fund to secure the livelihood, social and economic activities of farmers in the country. The CAG is basing its call on a recent Bloomberg publication that Ghana's main crop cocoa harvest fell by 6% to a 3-year low after a swollen shoot disease destroyed crops. Deputy Chief Executive in charge of Agronomy and Quality Control at Cocoa Board, Dr. Emmanuel Jomon, has been given details of the extent of damage caused by the disease. He's also been outlining interventions they have made for the farmers.
We're having some challenges regarding production when it comes to Western North, which has been, over the years, has been the main or the chunk where the chunk of cocoa has been got from. As we speak, virtually the entire Western North has been taken over by the disease. And also some parts of Eastern region is also is severely affected by the disease. The disease is a virus disease. And once the plant is infected, what we have to do is to cut the plant and replant, treat the stumps, and then do replanting. We have seen the situation, so we are also making preparation to put certain interventions in place, which we have even started already, so that in other regions like Ashanti, Brahafo, Central region, Volta region, and some part of Western South, we are trying as much as we can so that whatever losses that we are likely to incur in the Western North will be compensated by increasing production in the other regions. So we have put in place some interventions like doing massive pruning, doing mass pollination, hand pollination, and also we are fertilizing the cocoa farms for farmers, all with the hope that we'll be able to sort of increase yield to compensate for the losses that we are likely to. While we are doing the treatment, what we are doing is that we have monies allocated to be given to farmers whose farms have been affected by the disease, and even landowners who, where the farmers collected their farming, have through them they had access to the land. Some monies are also paid to them. But apart from that, we, Cocoa Board, is taking complete care of the treatment and also providing free seedlings to the farmer and also taking care of the maintenance for 2 years, okay, so that the farmer can really have time to come out from the situation.
Now, despite the intervention, CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana insists there's still a need to set up an agriculture disaster management fund. He also spoke earlier on News Desk.
I think that is not enough because, yes, you're safeguarding it. What about the economic loss in itself? Let's also not forget, recently we had the same challenge with the tilapia production. Now the tilapia production, the profit that has been made now is totally, eroded. If you go and ask the aquaculture farmers, those into tilapia, they've lost a lot of their livelihoods, okay? Now, what about the fall armyworms issue? That has befallen us 2 years ago and is still with us. What kind of strategic structures is the government putting in place? Okay. So to safeguard those into maize, soya, vegetables, and other areas. Recently, there is a ban on exportation of vegetables. I mean, the industry is bereft with a number of problems. And we need to make sure that in order not to lose all the huge investment into this industry and the successes the government have chalked over the years, let's come in with some strategy and make sure that, yes, we are able to contain the people in there and encourage those who are getting into the industry to come in.
Now, before we go for business, Prempeh College has joined 12 schools to qualify for this year's National Science and Maths quiz with the lowest points recorded at this stage. They beat Atebubu SHS and Labone SHS with 25 points. Here's quiz mistress Professor Elsie Efa Kaufman announcing the results, and Nancy Mfa Jadosi with post-contest reactions.
At the end of the contest, here are the final scores. Labone Senior High School has 17 points. Atebubu Senior High School has 17 points. Prempeh College has 25 points. Labone Senior High School and
so that is how it has ended. Prempeh College have managed to qualify to the quarterfinals of this year's National Science and Math quiz. From the very beginning, it was very difficult for Prempeh to make it. In fact, Labone Senior High School proved to be a very tough opponent until the problem of the day where they all had 0 points. And then finally, at the end of the contest, Prempeh College managed to win with 25 points, leaving Atebubu Senior High School with 17 points and also Labone 17 points. I'm sure that you can feel that from the old students and the students of Prempeh, this is not their best performance that they have put up. In fact, the quiz mistress herself announced that this is not the performance that they were expecting from Prempeh College, but that is all they were able to get. And so you do not even see their supporters cheering them on like they usually do with their chants and their anthem. But I see that their contestants are still on stage. Let me just get a few words from them to find out whether what actually went wrong on the day, because we know that Prempeh College, they've always proven to be a force to reckon with, and so it's very difficult to understand and to tell why they managed to pull just 25 points. It appears that they are the only school to have qualified to the next round of the competition with a very low point, as low as 25. We know that Accra Academy yesterday had about 34 points, and so far the marks that Prempeh College had was the least or the lowest point that have been recorded so far in this competition. Atebubu Senior High School, I know that it's heartbreaking for you, but how are you feeling at this point?
So we are feeling great, and everything that happens is due to the will of God. So we are giving all the thanks and glory to Almighty God for what has happened.
But you know you did so well. You proved to be a force to reckon with. What should you be expecting from your school next year?
Next year, I think our school will be seeded, because we couldn't do that. We thought we could, but Prempeh was a bit tougher. But we hope next year our juniors will do the best.
Thank you very much. So you heard some students or the contestants from Atebubu Senior High School. At the beginning, it appeared as if they were not really up to the task, but as it went on, they really proved to be a force to reckon with. And so they left here with 17 points together with Labone Senior High School. They also did well, 17 points. And then we had Prempeh College managing to pull some 25 points.
More on that later in the day, including that contest between State High School, Breman Esikoma and Ganata Senior High School. Now, it's time for business, and in business, Ghana will end reliance on importation of bitumen for road construction as GOIL has entered a joint venture agreement with SMB of Côte d'Ivoire to construct a bitumen plant in Tema. Expect more on that when Emmanuel Abwajiri joins us.